Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for today's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun, and this evening, tonight, we are looking at a topic that is quite apt: Gen Z employees. Gen Z employees, and our facilitator for this special weekend edition is Ayobami Akonle. Ayobami Akonle is the head of HR at Little Ants, a dynamic fintech organization at the intersection of innovation and impact. Her background spans both consulting and in-house HR leadership across fintech, banking, microfinance, FMCG logistics, and healthcare. She specializes in modern talent management, culture transformation, and workforce planning. She has a passion for building systems that serve both people and performers. Hopefully, she will tell us maybe what she studied, which school she went. I would have loved to read that, at least your first degree, if not more. And if you have any professional certifications relating to HR, just tell us. It's also interesting. Today, she's here to share practical insights on Gen Z employees, a generation that actively reshaping how we approach work, leadership, and organizational culture. Speaking on Gen Z employees, understanding what drives them and how HR can evolve, I present to us Ayobami Akonle. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Adeosun. Thank you for the opportunity and also the privilege to mentor, perhaps speak on this platform and also about this topic. So I welcome every participant in the section this evening. I hope you had a restful day, although TGIF, thank God it's Friday and we get to relax and rewind for the weekend, right? My name is Ayobami Akonle, as Dr. Adeosun has already said. Yes, he said practically everything that needs to be said about me. My first degree was actually economics, but my second degree was human resources management, and I'm an active member of CIPM. So I would say that's practically all I can say about myself for now. Thank you for this opportunity once again, and thank you for joining the section. So today we are exploring how to connect with Gen Z. This is a generation that is reshaping the workplace, that is reshaping the workforce. It's an organization, or perhaps it's Gen Zs are people that we just have to be very adaptive with. My next slide moves about, this is the welcome icebreaker slide, right? So I just want us to relax and know that this is just a learning series and we can both learn from each other. So if there's one word I know that I can very much relate with Gen Z, is adaptive, right? Adaptive in the sense that you just have to read the room. You also have to go along with the flow, how it works. You need to understand their behaviors, and you also need to fine tune the organization of the workforce to accommodate them in. So a whole lot Gen Zs have been misunderstood. They've been called entitled, sensitive, even lazy, right? But these words, right, it's misunderstood by outdated management practices, and we just have to find a way to work around their mentality, their what they bring to the table, and the fact that they also want a culture that is very open. So we'll move over to the objectives of this training. We'll be talking about who Gen Zs are, with their values, hiring and managing Gen Zs, right? Engaging and retaining Gen Zs, challenges and solutions. And lastly, we'll talk about the recaps and takeaways that we can get from this mentorship section. So let's begin with who Gen Z employees are, right? Gen Zs are born between 1996 to 2000s, or perhaps to be more precise, between 1997 and 2012, right? They form a large chunk of today's workforce, right? And they are entering the workforce, and they are seeing themselves as co-workers and employees. And we just have to give ourselves heads up as HR professionals that they are here to stay, and they are quite different from millennials. They are not the type that will just sit in a corner and you back at others at them. They would like to know what they are doing, what is expected of them. That way it's easier for you to manage them. They are also of the digital native, right? They grew up with smartphones and social media. 60% of them use TikTok daily. A whole lot of them use TikTok daily. And the technology world has given them the platform and the opportunity to learn a whole lot. The use of AI has come to stay, and it's giving them so many leverages, right? They get to know their rights, they get to know what they stand for, and they also want to understand what their expectations are. They are very, very into values, inclusivity, work-life balance, flexibility, and you would not really want to blame them. But in as much as you try to understand their values, it's very easy for you to manage them. 76% of them prioritize mental health, which is very proud at the moment. Although we live, I'm speaking of Nigeria where we are at the moment, right? We live in an age where we might not prioritize mental health so much, but I'm glad that with time, it's people are getting aware of the fact that mental health is very important and we need to take care of ourselves, because at the end of the day, whatever happens, you're always replaceable. They are also highly entrepreneurial, right? And independent thinkers. So it's more or less like you can't really think for them. They want to speak their mind. They want to say, they want to be heard, right? They want to be seen as well. And they also want an environment that is fast growing and an environment that would also upskill them. They just don't want to sit in a place like in a locker room, or perhaps in a case study room, or perhaps a case slot that says, oh, just sit down and arrange these files. What does this role bring to me? Am I learning anything from it? Am I upskilling in it? So these are who Gen Z employees are. When we understand their values, when we understand the social impact, when we understand the career growth, when we understand that, oh, they are in the digital wave, and their mental health, and also the fact that they are independent thinkers, then it's very quite easy for us to manage Gen Z employees. Moving forward, then we speak about Gen Z values in the workplace. This is more or less diving more deeply into understanding more about Gen Zs. So let's begin with diversity and inclusion, right? And diversity is always about expecting equitable and inclusive company cultures. How diverse, how open are you? Is it an organization? Is it a platform that encourages people to speak their mind? Is it a platform that, oh, racism is not allowed, gender biasness is not allowed, there's no age disparity, or because she's white, he's black, or because he's of the younger generation? They don't see that it has to be a diverse opportunity. It's not one that has to be automated or bureaucratic. Yes, I think that's the right word to say, bureaucratic, like, oh, okay, because you are 60 years old and you need to just back others up. No, it has to be diverse, inclusive, let them feel part of the system. That's one of the values of Gen Zs, right? And we should also keep in mind that before I move further to the next value, we should also keep in mind that managing Gen Zs, it's something that is here to stay. And we also have to read the room, or perhaps evolve around them as well. And okay, I was about to ask if any of us in this platform, or perhaps in this meeting right now, is managing anybody under the age of 27, but we can always go back to that at the end of the section, right? And there are so many instances that Gen Zs quit jobs without even giving you a notice. They come into an organization, they say that, oh, this is not a place I can be, this is not a place I can grow, and they are off and going. I'll make reference to that at the end of the section. So moving forward, technology and innovation. Gen Z's preference for digital tools and AI. AI has really dominated a lot, right? It has also made work very easy for each and every one of us, to be candid, right? They are born within the technology and innovation phase, right? And they keep evolving, they keep trying to know better. The skill set that you're bringing to the table, what are you getting? What are they getting in return? Yes, they are being paid for their skills to the organization, but what is the organization giving them in return? Because they are born in the technology and innovation phase. So these are one of the values that Gen Zs bring in the workplace. Then moving forward, continuous learning, right? Gen Zs prefer workplace that invest in their development. So many organizations do not actually bring this platform to individuals or perhaps to employees, right? Is there a program? Is there a platform whereby performance is being rewarded? Is there continuous learning? Are you upskilling in what you're bringing to the table? They expect an organization that invest in their learning. It's not just you coming into the organization and you've been redundant in a low role. Sorry to use the word redundant, like, or perhaps fixed in a role for over a year or 2 years, and there's nothing that the organization is bringing to you. The Gen Zs do not value such a workplace or perhaps such an environment. Flexibility. Since COVID happened, a lot of work organizations, right, or perhaps a lot of workplaces have incorporated the flexible mode of work, hybrid form of work. It could be remote, it could be hybrid, right? And to be candid, it has really helped. COVID has made us realize that we can do a lot, not by being physically present in the office, right? This is one of the values that Gen Zs bring to the workplace. Or perhaps this is what they look forward to, is flexible work options, right? It could be remote, it could be hybrid. Then last and not the least is purpose-driven work. Purpose-driven work in the sense that they want jobs that align with their personal values. Okay, this particular word speaks to what I wanted to speak about at the end of the section. An employee resumed last week, today is Friday. Yes, last week, Monday. We went through the whole phase of recruitment, onboarding, and all of that. He resumed on Monday. His role was motions and videography. As soon as he resumed, obviously the first day was onboarding and all of that. Get to know the team, get to know your management, get to know who you're working with, get to know your superiors. He was given a system to start working and editing videos. And the third day, at least he had the decency to drop a resignation. And I was really shocked that what's going on? Where is this coming from? So I had to have a one-on-one discussion with him that, guy, what's going on? Why did you just drop in your resignation? Is there a problem? You don't even know the system yet. And it's like, this is not an organization I see myself growing in. I feel I'm going to be redundant in the role after some time. I feel my skills are just, he was trying to be moderate with his words, right? But the way he spoke is more or less saying he is not in a purpose-driven work environment. He aspires more, he wants more. Even if he's just sitting at home doing nothing, he rather sits at home than be in such an environment, which was really quite shocking for me. So these are the values that Gen Z's perhaps wants in the workplace. They want diversity, they want inclusion, they want a technology environment, they want continuous learning, they want flexibility, and most importantly, an environment that is purpose-driven, where their values will be appreciated. Then moving forward, we speak about I'm going to engage in and retaining Gen Z employees. Now that we know what their values are, engaging and retaining Gen Z employees. How do we hire and regain Gen Z employees? Be transparent, right? If there's one thing we should all, we professionals in the HR force, we need to be transparent with what we say, how we say it, right? Be transparent about the company culture, be transparent about career growth opportunities. Do not lure people in, do not lure Gen Zs in under the marks that, oh, okay, don't worry, it's an environment that you can grow. There's self-improvement. It depends on your performance. Is the company culture as good as you say? Is there really career growth opportunities? Be open-minded, be transparent, right? And I like development programs and mentorship. Always bring in mentorship programs, career development programs. It could always be in-house. You don't even have to go out, take it outside, right? Bring it in-house, bring in consultants that can train employees on certain tools, or perhaps certain work skills. It could be Microsoft Word or Excel, or perhaps advanced Excel. It could be anything. Bring in anything that just brings about learning something new. You don't have to break the bank to go about bringing in mentorship or career development programs. These are one of the things that would help with the hiring strategies of Gen Zs. And offer flexibility. I spoke about that earlier, but with this, now we are speaking about hiring them. right? Let's work on flexibility. Offer an hybrid form of work, or perhaps a project-based role, or perhaps a consultancy role that would not necessarily require them to come in every day to the office, Monday to Fridays. Also, use digital hiring methods, right? When that's during the process of hiring, right? LinkedIn has been made so easy these days, and there are so many modern communication tools that is also being used to leverage Gen Zs in as much as you can get out the adverts out, you will get in as much candidates as possible, especially when all of the details that they need is present itself in the job adverts. But if there's key things that we should note is when there's transparency, when the organization is value proposed, when you don't take too much time during recruitment. There are some organizations that take 3 months to recruit, tell you that there are 6 stages, 6 phases of the interview. It's not that deep. I feel mostly interview should not exceed 3 phases or perhaps 3 stages. The first stage, there's a one-on-one or perhaps virtual. Second stage with senior management, and the final stage, that is when the decision is being made, right? Do not take a very long process when it comes to recruitment. It's exhausting, it's tiring, and at the same time, it's even forgetful to an extent because most people would not even remember, okay, I didn't know this job was still opened, right? And also managing. So now we spoke about hiring, managing them. I spoke about mentorship programs, career development, and also feedbacks. It's always good when you give feedbacks. It's not just keeping mute. There's a saying that I go by, or perhaps I've believed in. Over communicating is better than under communicating, right? Not saying anything at all brings about biasness, or perhaps brings about resentfulness, because you don't even know this person you've not given feedback to might feel they are not good enough, or there's a slack in it. But most of the time, always communicate. Over communicate rather than do not say anything. Say the reasons why they are not measuring up to expectations. Say the reasons why their performance is not as good as expected. Say the reasons why things are not working out how they should be, rather than just keeping mute and assuming that, what the older generations of us, what the millennials accepted is what the Gen Zs would also accept. No, they wouldn't work around that. Oh, okay. Then we speak about hiring and managing Gen Z employees. Oh, I skipped. I think I moved forward with my slide. What I just spoke about was hiring and managing Gen Z employees. So engaging and retaining them is where I'm going to right now, right? And regular feedback, recognition, rewards, right? If an employee is doing very well in the job, have a reward system, have a recognition system. Like I mentioned earlier, you don't need to break the bank to reward an employee. You can as well just have a plaque in the office that says Employee of the Month, or perhaps give them a movie ticket, Best Customer Service Employee of the Month, something that just brings about an appreciation form, right? They would feel they are part of the system, which is part of being inclusive. They are getting recognition that they deserve, right? And also instant feedback, not waiting forever to give a feedback. Encouraging mentorship programs, I already spoke about that, and career development tools. Offer flexible work arrangements. If you notice, most of the words I'm saying, it's more or less a bit repetitive because it still falls around what evolves around Gen Z employees. And offer modern communication tools. There are so many communication tools right now. We have Slack, we have Teams, we have several of them. And also for retaining them, in as much as there is continuous feedback, there are recognition programs, there's a reward system, there is career development, there's continuous learning, there's flexibility, and there's also, the culture is also authentic. It's not an organization where you come in, it's very, very odd. You feel that I'm entering from fire to frying pan. The culture is authentic. It's not just about the name of the company itself. There are so many companies that you see the name outside. When you get inside, you know that this place is very, very hot. It's not just about the name. Is your culture good? Is it a place that you can grow in? Is it a place that employees would feel appreciated in? Not come in and just feel the whole system is all messed up. Okay, so let's speak about the challenges and solutions of Gen Zs, right? While we know there are cons and pros dealing with Gen Zs, we should also realize that for every good part, for every bad part, there's also a good part. You cannot always see the negativity in things, but also see the positive part of it. Short attention spans. Yes, most Gen Zs have short attention spans. That is when a specific role or perhaps duty is repetitive. I am not trying to make biasness to those in data analysis, but most of data analysts, their work is mostly repeated because it's just more or less like imputation, right? So there is a short attention span, but a very good way for you to turn it into positivity is micro-learning. Micro-learning in the sense that more training sections, more ways to upskill, better ways to work on the software. Excel is such a broad tool in the sense that if it takes you about 4 or 6 or 10 minutes to work on this or getting a formula done, there are better options, or perhaps there are better sections, training sections that make you get it done in less than a minute. Micro learning, expanding, and getting more knowledge, right, on it. High promotion expectations. Yes, I listened to one of my mentors some weeks back, and he spoke about a Gen Z that he has never met before. But because he was in the coffee room, the Gen Z just walked up to him and said, hi, my name is Brian. I started working here for about 6 months now. I'm hoping to know when I'll be promoted. And he's looking at him like, who are you? He doesn't even know who he is, but he was like, who are you? And he was so bold enough to walk up to him, to the manager itself, right? And say, oh, when will there be room for promotion? They have high promotion expectations, right? Because they want to grow. And a good way to go about this is career plans. Provide clear career progression plans, right? Is there room for growth? Is there room for promotion? Is there a platform, or perhaps a program that there's progress in the organization, not just looking for outsiders to come in to fill in roles that are vacant. Also look in-house to fill in these roles. Career plans, let there be a career path. This is a way to turn these high promotion expectations into the positive aspect. Then the third cons is casual communication preference. They prefer casual digital communication, right? Just limited to something short and something simple, not composing a mail with 5 or 6 paragraphs just because you are trying to communicate something that can be easily phrased in 3 or 4 sentences, and it's too lengthy. Make it simple, make it precise, get straight to the point. Casual communication preferences, and also digital communication, right? Those are one of the cons of a Gen Z. But when you balance informal communication with professionalism, there's a very good way you can turn this into positivity, right? When there's a balance between informal communication and professionalism. Yes, you speak, hi Brian, I hope you had a nice weekend. The mood has calmed down to an extent, right? And then you moved over to the professional aspect. I've been expecting this presentation from you. Perhaps I've been expecting these expectations of you. Where is it? You can mix, so just balance it. Find a balance between informal communication and also professionalism. And the fourth con is work-life balance needs, right? Yes, they are very big on a work-life balance. To be candid, majority of us are, irrespective of the generation that we are born in, we all want a easy, systematic work-life balance, either remote or hybrid, right? Encourage mental health programs. So a good way to turn this negativity into positive aspect is encourage wellness programs, encourage flexibility, encourage a program that speaks about high on mental wellness, right? You can, like I mentioned earlier, you don't need to break the bank. You can bring in an healthcare or perhaps health professionals that can come into the organization and check the BPs of your employees. Is it high? Is this number? Or check your blood groups, things like that, that speaks about wellness, that speaks about the health balance in the organization. There's nothing to it, in as much as we know that these Gen Zs are entering the workforce in large volumes and they are here to stay. We also need to be accommodating to we need to be open-minded to accommodate them so that way they can stay, right? So now I'm done with challenges and solutions, and it's actually a fast, short presentation because I'm also trying to limit my presentation as a Gen Z as well, right? Not too much details, just straight to the point. Then we are going to recap and key takeaways. But before the recap and key takeaways, I would like to hear from participants in the house. Has anybody dealt with an employee that is a Gen Z below 27 years old? I would love to hear from anybody in the room, please. Hello? Yes, please. Vicky is raising her hand. We'd love to hear from you. Vicky, your hands are raised.
Okay, can you hear me now? Good evening.
Yes, I can hear you, Vicky. Please go ahead.
Good evening. Sorry
Good
I had to
evening.
join. I got to hear about the last statement you made.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm currently dealing with a Gen Z below the age, and it's not funny because
Of course.
you expect a lot from, but she'll just give it to you as it is, and she'll walk away. And at that
That
point,
goes straight to the point.
I'm like, what is this? Even when you try to explain, no, it's all about what she wants, what she feels, and what she thinks is right. And at that point, what one should, because you can't just go on to query this person because you're seeing it that it's all about the Gen Z attitude. So in
Yes.
that case, your advice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Vicky. And I would say a good way to probably manage such a person is to understand them more and also mix informality and formality together. Yes, you bring them close, but you're also professional with what you have to say. IJ Classic, your hand is also raised. Please speak.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening,
Hi, good evening. Good evening. Thank
So,
you.
speaking to the topic, typically I've had the encounter with a lot of Gen Zs, and one thing I've come to understand about them is they are so impatient, so
Very.
impatient. You imagine Gen Z is telling you, if I don't get this exact promotion, I'm going to exit. And you see, this person is a talent, and you don't want the employee to leave. So it's really hard convincing them. And when you're promising a Gen Z a salary raise or a promotion, you just have to mean it, not the one you are using to buy time. So they are so impatient. Their impatient attitude is what I've been trying to cope with.
Manage.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. That's very nice to hear from you, right? So yes, they are very much impatient. I made an example to somebody that resumed last week and only spent 3 days in his system and he was out, and it was really shocking to me, and he just bluntly said, this is not the place I can grow. And I'm like, you've not even entered the system, you've not understood the system to know how it is, but it is what it is. It was out and there was nothing I could really do. I really tried to persuade him to say, just try to understand how the system works, right? And see if it is still a place you want to be. I was like, no, it is not a place to be. And so that's just about it. Kenneth, your hand is raised.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Kenneth.
It's nice to be part of this program. I would like to speak to you. Let me start with my cousin, a Gen Z, very fresh Gen Z. After I used service and stayed with me for a while, and finally, when she finished serving and they retained her, and less than a year, I don't go back. I said, our company is this, that. I'm like, what happened? It is no longer that she prefers to be doing her side hustle in making that they are this, that. What happened? She's no longer working there. I said, Okay. Now, let me tell my own personal experience. From my own understanding and my encounter with the Gen Zs, they could be less, in fact, they are less resilient compared to other generations. That is clear. But I've noticed that when I give them job, anything to do, and I don't micromanage them, I allow them to explore, they
Yeah.
come with better results, right? They come with better results and very innovative. Mind you, Gen Z they are visionaries. So there is this synergy that is necessary between Gen Zs and the older generation. When that synergy comes, in fact, the result is so massive. I'm speaking from experience. So I don't micromanage them. I give them opportunity to explore. And when they come back with, you see that KPI, they are always hitting. But even if you keep on micromanaging them, manage them just like they did with us that are millennials, you will never get a better result. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much for that, Kenneth. Yes, micromanagement is also a very big flaw. You won't get the best from a Gen Z when you micromanage, which is true. You don't have to give them complete autonomy, but at least just give them the opportunity to do what you expect them to do. And you would always get the best results from them. Choma Okereke, yes, please, your hand is raised.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
So, right, I totally agree with the last speaker. So, currently, I'm working with a Gen Z, and he's an intern, like in my team. And I can tell you for free that they are highly innovative. I mean, when he joined, right, he was this calm person. He was trying to like understand everyone, observe by himself. Then I had to like give him a briefing, like enlighten him on how the team works and everything. I mean, and I could see that one thing about him is that he's eager to work, he's eager to learn, he loves to learn. So I just told him, okay, fine. I love the fact that you're eager to learn. I'm always giving him feedback. And I know that the more I give him feedback, the more he gives me the result that I need. In fact, he's ready. He will tell you, call me at any time that he's ready, you know. But now we're 3 months into the work and he's observing the office politics and everything, and he's kind of discouraged. He said he doesn't think that after his internship he'll want to like work here. I now made him understand one thing, that there is no organization that you go to that you're not going to meet office politics. What you have
Yes.
to do is to learn how to play it. And one good thing I think I like about him is that he listens. I know some people complain about Gen Z, but I'm telling you that this is a particular special breed of a Gen Z. One thing I love about him is that he is eager to learn and highly innovative. So high profile reports that I do, I make sure that I send them to him. Look at what I've done. And the reason why I'm showing you this is so that tomorrow when you leave here, you're going to shine like a star wherever you find yourself. And he's always happy about that. So when you make them to feel mattered and valued, and you're not micromanaging them like the last speaker
Yeah.
said, you will utilize them properly. And
You will get
one
the
thing
best
I
out of
use,
them.
in fact, I sing his praises. I give him feedback. In fact, in the team, I tell people that if reliability was a human being, I would say Korede is reliability, as in he is good. He is really good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Chioma. That was really good to hear from you. Right. So just like everybody has said so far, micromanagement is the big flaw for Gen Z employees. Give them at least autonomy. You don't need to give them complete autonomy, but give them the space, let them speak, let them have the innovation to do what they need to do. And you will get the best out of them. And this is what I've just been trying to move around, right? You can't make the workplace so rigid that people don't get to speak, and there is too much politics, just like Chioma said earlier. When there's too much politics, and perhaps when they don't have the flexibility to do what they want to do, then you might not get the best results from a Gen Z. So to recap on what I've said so far, right? Gen Z, they value growth, flexibility, they value a good workplace culture. They also value a place where their skills can be invested in, where there's continuous learning, where there are learning opportunities, and when the leadership is also pretty much transparent, right? They want an environment where they can upskill themselves, recognition reward systems, right? Where they get, and you would get the best result, or perhaps you retain top talent Gen Z employees. And I'm trying to move to the next slide, right? Okay, still, please, I'm open to questions and very much open to questions and answers. So far, we've had suggestions from participants, right? I'm very open to questions. Please ask me questions. Let me ask you questions. Let's be as interactive. It's a learning process. We're trying to understand how the Gen Z employees work. Please, the floor is open, please. Don't we have any questions? Okay, hi, Kenneth.
I would like to suggest if there are Gen Zs on this call, they could already ask some pertinent questions, so that it doesn't look as if we are trying to undermine their presence.
Do we have any Gen Zs on this call? Okay, Tosan Akonde, please speak. Your hand is raised.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, I just wanted to share my personal experience with Gen Zs. I don't really have questions because
Okay.
I've been dealing with them. My first experience with a Gen Z, because in my house, the only Gen Z that we have is our last one. And it took time for us to understand why she seems so different from us. She's always asking questions. And since she started working, at least she has come up to her 4 times telling me she wants to resign. And I saw the same pattern in her with Gen Zs in my organization. And I realized that the best things that work with Gen Z is logic, not argument or trying to boss them around. If the moment they see the reason why they should do what you're asking them to do, they will get it done with or without supervision. The reason why they will keep fighting is because they don't understand why they should get whatever it is that they are being asked to get done. And this is one of the things that I explain to managers when they're having issues with Gen Z in their. I said the reason why that person is fighting is because the person does not see the reason why. So if you can make them see the reason why, they get it done. If you can make them see the reason why you have a task ahead, instead of just focusing on getting the task done and achieving results, ensure that if you have Gen Zs on your team, they buy into that particular vision and they are seeing what you are seeing. You have to answer all their questions, because these are questions that they will ask themselves when they are trying to carry out their assignment. And also, Gen Zs, their interest is short-lived. So you have to keep them involved and keep them interested. They as easily as they get interested in something is as easily as they can get uninterested. So we
Yes,
have to
very
keep them
distracted easily,
interested,
yes.
keep them involved. That's why employee engagement is key. That's why the organizations of nowadays you cannot underplay employee engagement. See, the millennials can just work, get what they want. They're only just, I can get what I want as long as I can get. No, but these ones, you have to keep them engaged. And also, I found out that this set of people have a mentality that they can make money anywhere. So if you think that you can threaten them with their salary or with their pay, they will walk away and leave it for you and they will go.
They'll leave you
Because they
hanging.
can go and monetize their YouTube, monetize their TikTok,
TikTok, yes.
Or they will go and do affiliate marketing, content creating, ghostwriting. You are there.
Mhm.
Yes, they have gone, they have made money. You are the one that is waiting for 8 to 5. And some of them, they have side jobs. They have something they do at night because they are restless people. So when they get home, they probably have one novel up they're writing something for that is already making them money in dollars or something, or they are creating something. So your salary is probably maybe what they are using to get around. That's their main. So we have to ensure that we don't threaten them. They don't like being threatened, because when you start threatening them, they want to actually see what you can do. That's what comes to their mind. Do your worst. You know, they have that, do your worst. Let me see the worst. If I push this now, what this worst I say what to them is, let me see the worst. So I know that they are around. Now even the generation that is coming after them, God will give us the grace, because those ones, they are all coming into the workforce very soon.
Yes, of
And those
course.
ones are
We need to be
all right.
ready.
Thank you
We need
very
to
much. I really
evolve.
enjoyed today's
Yes,
teaching.
thank you so much, Tosan. That was very insightful, right? Just like you mentioned, you need to always answer their questions. They don't want to be redundant. And it's because when you create a platform where they are always learning, yes, you will get the best out of a Gen Z, rather than you just sitting down and backing others to them. Make them understand why these things, this has to be done in this certain way. And you get the best out of them. They don't want to be redundant, right? Lady Josephine, your hand is raised. Please speak.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening.
So, thanks so much, ma'am. It's such an insightful session.
Okay.
Yes, I've listened to everyone's contribution with regards to handling Gen Zs and all. But I want to ask a question. What do you do when you have Gen Zs that are lazy? You know, it's an engineering firm. They're expected to go out to client base to work. The enabling environment is created, but then most times you hear things like, when it's time to go out for work, you hear things like, I'm tired. You know, there's this practical, laziness, practical laid back, about them. So in such situation, what do you do? Thank you.
Yeah, so what you mentioned has to do with a physical presence, right? Like I mentioned earlier, they want so much flexibility, right? While the role expects them to go physically, to go on site, right? If it's expected of them every day, then you will not get the best out of them. You can as well, I would say probably a solution is to create a roster. That way they know what is ahead of them and not just completely imposing it on them. Yes, they are misunderstood as being lazy, but they just love to do their things digitally. They are, mind me to say, keyboard warriors, right? Always on the system, technically inclined. Yes, doing this on AI, doing this because they get the best of their results there. There's so much technology, AI, social media is doing for them. So they would rather do that, right, than expect them to be on the move or on the road. You can hardly, it's very, very slim for you to see most Gen Zs in a business development role or a marketing role, right? Something that requires them to be on the move, always on the move. But if it is digital marketing, yes, that is where you see them. They are gurus in it. So I don't know if that has answered your question. Kenneth, your hand is raised. Please speak.
Okay. I have two questions. Number one is, what do you think that needs to be done to build the resilience nature of the Gen Zs to match the older generations? Because for me, I know it's a fundamental issue that needs to be resolved rather. That's one. Then two, is there any handshake between CIPN and Nigerian Labour Congress with a view to enacting flexible and realistic labor laws considering the Gen Zs, because they are now taking over the labor market, the workforce, so to
Yes, of
say.
course, the
Now,
workforce, yes.
taking into consideration that if that is not done, the Gen Alpha that are coming after them, there is an issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that point. That's very, very, very insightful. Dr. Adeosun will be in a better position, right, to create more light into that. If there can be a collaboration between CIPM and labor law, perhaps that would speak on how they can accommodate Gen Zs, right? Because if we are deliberating on managing Gen Zs right now, what would happen to the next generation, right? Dr. Adeosun should be, Dr. Oluyemi should be in a better position to answer your question. But for the first question, I would say, just like I mentioned, right? It's always good to hear from them, right? It's always good to hear from these Gen Zs what how you can manage or perhaps accommodate them. Why you cannot give them complete autonomy, like I said previously, but you still need to work around them. You need to evolve. You need to be open-minded. I would say that's just the major key point on getting the best from a Gen Z. And I want to leave you with practical takeaways in this section that when you audit job descriptions, you will get the best out of Gen Zs. When you audit job expectations, you will get the best out of Gen Zs. Let it accommodate what they believe in, right? And at the same time, you assess feedback loop. Always give them food, but they want feedback immediately. Collaborative feedback, not criticizing them all the time, right? But give them something that is constructive, that they can work on, something they can leverage on, not just leveraging or their challenges, right? Or perhaps areas that they need to develop on, but leveraging, okay, yet you are slacking in this area, you need to work on this. You can attend these training sections, you have this learning platform to work on these specific skills. These are one of the few takeaways that I want to leave with you. And we need to keep in mind that every generation works differently, and organizations need to craft internal communication strategies, right, that can appeal to all different generations, especially the Gen Zs that we are speaking about right now. And we don't even know what we are to expect in the next generation coming, when presently AI and social media has taken practically everything. We should keep in mind that one size doesn't fit all. What millennials accepted is not what Gen Zs are accepting right now. It is important to deliver information where people are, right? Always over communicate than just keeping quiet and not saying anything at all. Okay, Ade is raising his hand. Ade, please speak.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly. Hi, good
Okay,
evening,
hi
Ade.
there. Thank you very much for this very insightful topic that we are having. I'd just like to share a bit of experience that I have with Gen Zs. There's a team that I was managing at one particular point in time. And then at that time, we had a particular set of girls, Gen Zs, that when they first come into the office in the morning, they first take their time to take pictures and do their makeup and all that. And by the time they do all that, it will now spill into the working hours. And then I think one of the things that they were doing at that time were taking pictures with the company logo, which is against breach of their contracts, because for
Yes.
safety reasons, you're not supposed to take pictures with either your ID card or with the company logo, so you don't become an easy target for fraudsters or syndicates or people that want to, kind of like defraud the organization. And
Yes.
then the HR there kind of sent a communication to these Gen Z staff to advise them what they're doing or what they're doing is not proper. You will not believe that these guys took a picture of the memo and actually put it on social media with the with the company logo, with the memo, everything, the advice sent to them, took the picture and sent it and put it on social media. Now, where I'm going with this is because the kind of mindset that they do have, it has to be managed constructively. Because we notice that these Gen Zs, although you mentioned it in one of your slides, that they have a short attention span, and that's because a lot of them do have ADHD, and some of them do not even know they have this ADHD. Different generations do have different work traits that they do have. Like if you look at what the trajectory is looking like now, you can see that the baby boomers are already checking out and are leaving their businesses to the Generation X. And after the Generation X, those ones are already taking management positions and the millennials are moving up. Now we have the Gen Zs that are already taking spaces in organization. And very soon, like I said, like somebody said here, their fears are very, very valid. They're concerning, because you have the generation Alpha coming into the workspace very soon. So now, if you
Yes.
think you have problems with the Gen Z, you wait till you start encountering this generation Alpha. But like I said, management is what it's really all about, because the way you manage the Gen Zs will definitely be different from the way you manage the millennials and you manage the
Obviously.
generation Alpha. Now,
Yes.
this is my point. In working with Gen Zs, what I have learned over a period of time is to be patient. They might seem very lazy, but like I said, not that they're lazy by choice, but because of the technological advancements that they've experienced or witnessed within their own short lifespan, they tend to rely more on technology. So
Yeah.
if you give a Gen Z a workload or something to do, and you're telling them to follow your instructions to the teeth, you will find out that they can actually make that job much much easier if you give them the opportunity to be innovative with themselves.
Yeah.
I know on this call, somebody also talked about that they already have their YouTube pages, TikTok pages, and they're already monetizing things. And that's to show you the entrepreneurial spirit that they do have.
Yes.
So
Yes.
as an organization and as management, as HR personnel, what we can do is to try to harness those traits and those characteristics in them to make sure that they help our organizations bloom. Yeah, it might be a bit difficult, but it is very possible, because like I said, working with them is very lovely, very fantastic. You get to learn new things and know what the new trends are. However, we need to handle them very, very carefully.
Very, very
Thank
well. Yes, thank you so much, Ade. That was very, very insightful, right? Thank you for the points that you noted down, right? When we are opened, when you manage them in such a way that they feel inclusive, that they are part of the system, and tell them the reasons why they are doing what is expected of them, you will get the best out of a Gen Z. One thing I would also like to leave with every one of us is expectations of a Gen Z is quite different, because they are exposed to the technology world. They are more inclined to be more tech savvy, right? Than you expecting them to just sit and be redundant, doing something that is so repetitive. But when there's continuous learning, when there's always room for growth, when you give them the opportunity and the autonomy to learn, you will get the best out of them, and also with good feedback and also communication as well. And for the alpha generations, just like Ade spoke about, right? We are yet to know what is expected of them and how to manage them. But since we are still in the Gen Z phase at the moment, let's still try to understand and work with them, and also get the best out of them. And even more important, the organizations also needs to realize that Gen Z wants they want to work. They do want to work, but you just have to work, perhaps be open to how they work. Give them that innovation, give them that space to get the best out of them. And younger employees wants to invest their time in something that is worthwhile, right? And we should also keep in mind that rather than me trying to focus so much on processes and performance, let's focus more on the outcome, what you get from them, rather than this specific outcome, and being too rigid. Then you can always get the best from a Gen Z. That would be all from me, right? And it was really nice. Thank you for the suggestions, for the question that has been asked so far. Do we have any other thing that we need to say? Is there any other suggestion or question that that participants want to bring to my attention? Very much opened. Thank you for sharing your personal experiences working with the Gen Z, and thank you very much for also attending the section. It was very quite insightful. I get to learn from you. You also got to learn from me.
Thank you so much, Ayobami. There's one, I
Yes.
don't know whether to call it a question or a remark, but if you want to respond or react, I would like it. It's from, I won't mention his name. I'll read
Okay.
the person's message. For technical reasons, that's why I'm not mentioning his name. Before his
Okay.
managing director we see or air. The person says, I am working with a Gen Z managing director. We are seeing Shege Pro Max. Any reaction to that? So the Gen Z is the MD.
Oh, the Gen Z is the MD.
He's the owner of the company, yes.
I can't hear you anymore, Dr. Adeosun.
I said, do you want to respond to that? What suggestion or tip or guidance do you want to have for that person?
Oh, okay. I thought you were still speaking. So what's the question?
The person is working with a Gen Z managing
A Gen
director.
Z, but
and
he is
they
not
are
a Gen Z.
and they are seeing Shege Pro Max. So what
They are
counsel
seeing
do you
Shege
have
Pro
for
Max.
the person?
Oh, okay. So I would say the best way I can advise you is work with the flow, right? Work with the flow, work with the space. At the end of the day, is your boss, right? You need to deliver. Work with the flow, work with his space, right? It's more of probably he wants your deliverables technically based and you are probably doing the paperwork. That might not be true, but you need to work with the flow, right? Work with the space and try to understand. It will be also nice if you can have one-on-one interaction with him, right? Especially when he's in a good mood, right? Oh, hi, Oga, or something, whichever way you, how you communicate between yourself. I would like to understand you more. Like, what do you want from me? So I can understand how to deliver to you, right? I would say having one-on-one section with him would also give you an opportunity to deliver well in your job and not see the Shege Pro Max that as you mentioned, right? But I would say it's just to work with his space, work with his flow, right? And be result driven. That would be my answer to such a question. Ade is raising his hand.
I
Okay,
guess
so
he wants to respond. Please go
yes,
ahead.
just a bit of contribution to what you just said now about the Gen Z employer. I know we're talking about a Gen Z employees here, and I know now the question has turned to about the Gen Z employer. In my not so long career, I think I've experienced different shades of people and different kind of people that I've worked with. I've been interviewed by a Gen Z employer before, and then all the criteria or all the job descriptions and everything she actually wanted me to do or come and consult with them in their organization was something that I kind of like looked with one eyebrow, and I also laughed because for me it was not a bit realistic what all the things that they needed to be done. But if you look at things from the Gen Z part of view, for her to have been able to raise that amount of venture capital and gotten the amount of angel investors to invest in her company, for her to float that company, you cannot tell that kind of person it cannot be done. So what we actually need to do in that particular situation is to know how the person wants to be addressed and how the person wants to be worked with. As different employers or different employees, the best way or the best approach to enjoy success or to enjoy what we're doing is to know how we want to work with our supervisors or our managers or who we need to work with. There might be a bit of an age difference and a bit of an age gap, and the person might say some things that you might not find comfortable, but in that kind of position, you'll find yourself to be an employee. If you do not like it, you can also be shown the door and walk out. But the best part of it is to know how the person wants the job done. That's the best thing to do. You can have that conversation with the person and say, how do you want the person or how do you want the job done? I can categorically say that in Nigeria, because of that age factor and that culture and that respect, if the age difference between myself and my supervisor is more than 5 years or more than 10 years, there's some ways that I'll make some remarks and some addresses that the person you think you're trying to belittle or to behind their authority, and they start to kick back and start to have a toxic work environment. We should also look at that, because I can tell you in Nigeria, if your supervisor, your guy, or you're older than the person, you start to behave or start to have some body languages that do not flow with it. But the best thing is that you are an employee. You should ask your employer, how do you want to be serviced? And that's about it. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Ade, that was very insightful, right? If you can have one-on-one sections with your boss, you would get more, or perhaps you will get the best result from you, and you also get the best from him. And yes, that cultural biasness that we have, that okay, maybe when you're making a reference, you're saying, when I was your age, I don't used to do things the way you used to do now. No, it's the age bracket thing should stop, and we should stop relying on rigid processes. So yes.
attention.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a very convenient convergence and a great place to focus on this beautiful, high expectations. She did exceptionally well. I must thank you, my sister Ayobami Akonle. And I'd like to
Thank you for having me.
On behalf of Gen Zs in HR mentorship group, on behalf of them, please come quickly and facilitate another webinar for us very quickly on any topic of your choice. We will be excited to have you on board. Ladies and gentlemen, please, you know what we do when we wrap up. Please, let's unmute and let's appreciate our facilitators.
Thank you.
Thank you, AY.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you, my head HR. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayo. Gen Z HR.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, my head.
So my people, just for the records, I think me too now going forward, I identify as a Gen Z, please.
Okay.
Okay. Good night. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Everyone.
Okay. Bye.
Wow, Gen Z is no wala.
Yes.
As long as you understand the
we're all Gen Zs.
language.
You're all Gen Z. You're all Gen Zs.
Nobody wants to go old.